What is going on, guys? It's Wednesday, and that means it's paintball question time. Sergio Silva asked, how would I become a certified marker tech? First, Sergio, most of the gun techs are like marker technicians or airsmiths or whatever we want to call them, are most of the time attached to stores and fields. By attached, like they either work at a store or own a store or have a buddy that owns a store field or something. You said certified though. So like certifications are typically given out to people who attend classes. Like we know that Bob Long or like GOG or DLX or Planet Eclipse, whoever it is, most of these larger companies have actual like courses you can take to become certified and learn more intricate details about their guns. So most of those courses and classes either take place at World Cup or Paintball Extravaganza. But like I said before, most of those people that attend those classes are like attached or affiliated with a store. So to be able to take the classes, most of the time you have to have a store to vouch for you to say, hey, this guy's affiliated with us, so he can take the class. Those classes aren't free though, they do cost money, but most of the time you either get like a gun or like product to offset the cost of taking the class. Sometimes they do have classes away from those two events, but it's pretty rare. Like a couple years ago when the Shocker RSX came out, they traveled around to tournaments and were doing tech classes, but that's kind of a one-off rare situation. So really you need to go to World Cup or Paintball Extravaganza, and you might want to contact Paintball Extravaganza if you aren't affiliated with a store or field and just see what they say. Be like, hey, I'm just a guy who wants to take a cut. I would recommend contacting the people at Paintball Extravaganza if you're not like affiliated with a store or a field, and just being like, hey, I'm a guy who wants to take a tech class, what do I have to do? They may let you in, but it's possible they don't because typically Extravaganza at least is only open to dealers. Like paintball distributors or stores and stuff. Finding out about the classes at World Cup's a little bit more difficult. They don't typically like publicize the classes. They'll typically just send out emails to like paintball stores and fields and be like, hey, if you guys have anybody at World Cup that wants to do like, say, a die tech class, we'll be there doing a class. You could also talk to your local paintball store. Say like, hey, I wanna go to Paintball Extravaganza, I'll pay for the classes if you guys can just like register me and let me go. So I hope that's helpful. Look into World Cup classes and Extravaganza classes. Justin Hall asked, I live out in the middle of nowhere and I wanna fill HPA at home, but I don't have the funds to buy a compressor. What should I do? I get it, air compressors are expensive. I mean like a decent one starts at like $5,000. So what I would do is if you're at home and want compressed air, there's really like two options. A scuba tank, and there's also this cool product called the Shoebox Compressor. The easy answer, Justin, scuba tank. Back in the day, we used to fill off scuba tanks all the time before a lot of these paintball fields had air compressors. So it's possible you can just go buy like a used scuba tank for 80 bucks, or new ones are like 170, 180 bucks. Get a fill station for like $40 and bam, you have compressed air at home. The drawback to scuba tanks though is you end up going through that air pretty fast and you have to continually get it filled. There's also this cool product called the Shoebox Compressor, made by a legendary paintball hero, Tom K. So the Shoebox Compressor comes in two configurations. They have the Shoebox Plus, that's $650, or the Shoebox F10, that is $1,150. So the way the Shoebox Compressor works is you have like regular like shop compressor that you can get for, I don't know, $200, $300, and then you hook up the Shoebox Compressor, and then that takes 100, 200 PSI from the regular compressor and just like compresses it a bunch and then puts it into your paintball tank. Both of the Shoebox versions work relatively similar. It's just that the F10 goes a little faster and you can fill a tank quicker, but they do take a long time. So don't expect it to turn it on and then like 4 minutes later you have a compressed air tank full. It takes some hours to fill. So the Shoebox is definitely cheaper than a typical air compressor, and you can always have air, unlike with the scuba tank, you gotta get the thing filled. So really, you have two options, scuba tank or Shoebox Compressor. Check out a link in the description for a link to the Shoebox Compressor. Nate Butcher asked, I'm new to paintball and I've been wondering where I can watch pro teams play. So I'm gonna take that as the first part, 2 questions, where you can actually physically watch pro teams play paintball and where you can just watch pro matches. So if you want to actually go physically watch pro players, there's kind of 2 ways to do it. You can go to the practices or go to an actual NXL or Millennium event. So most of these pro teams practice at local paintball fields that are in their region. So like, I know X Factor, for instance, in San Antonio, they play at X Factor Paintball Park all the time, and then have other pro teams out a few weekends before the tournament to actually practice. Or like Tampa Bay Damage, they play at Central Florida Paintball in Central Florida. Or here in Sacramento, we get Edmonton Impact all the way from Canada to practice a lot. Or if you live in the San Diego area, you have Dynasty, and they're always bringing in pro teams to practice. Or like I said, go to the actual tournaments. Like this upcoming week, Atlantic City, if you live around New Jersey, you could drive down to the tournament and watch it. If you didn't mean actually physically watching teams, GoSports.com is really the best place to watch any of these pro teams. GoSports.com broadcasts the NXL all weekend long. So like they broadcast all day Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. PB Nation also puts up some old NXL footage so you can go back and watch some of the previous matches that have gone on. Or if you want to watch the Millennium Series that takes place in Europe, I think it's that way, you can go to their Facebook page, and I'll put a link in the description to find that. So you can physically go watch teams at practice or tournaments, or GoSports.com to watch live pro matches. Guys, that's paintball question time. Like always, if you have more paintball related questions, leave a comment below or use hashtag PBQT on the social medias and I'll find it. Check out more paintball question times in that big, huge rectangular box or the Paintball Ruin My Life store and pick up a shirt or something in the square one. And subscribe and like this video.